Can somebody turn my mic on, please? Because I've got this thing called Parkinson's, and it doesn't... You can hear me now, can you? Thank you.
Can you hear me?
I don't know what you've all turned up for, but yeah, we are a tiny part of the movers and shakers. My name's Rory, Cellan-Jones, and who are you?
Nicolas Mostyn.
Oh, that's the judge to you. And we've got an hour to delight, entertain, irritate, and bore you rigid. We'll try and go light on the last of those. First of all, we're going to start by me interviewing him about how the podcast got started, and him interviewing me about, and being a judge, he's got a 4,000-page document to read out.
A short one.
Boo if that goes on too long. Don't sign it. Yes, yes. And then he'll interview me, and then we've got two spectacularly good guests, and then there may be time for some Q&A if we speed enough. So thank you very much for coming. You look a lovely audience. I've got terrible short sight, so that may or may not be correct. And before we get going, has everybody heard the breaking news? Yeah, we've got our debate, November the 17th. Yay! And later on, we'll be hearing from one of the local heroes who helped us get there. So that's to come. But we are going to start with me interviewing his judgeship to remind myself and you of how Movers and Shakers got underway and what it's all about. So I am getting increasingly forgetful, Nick. How did it all start?
It all started when I was introduced to you by Edward Sturton. And I had just been diagnosed, and I was feeling a bit miserable about it.
And he's your oldest pal.
He's my oldest friend. Yeah. He's a marvellous person, my oldest friend, and he said, I must introduce you to Rory Cellan-Jones, who also has got Parkinson's. And he'll be able to steer you through the shallows and reefs of the existence with it. And so we arranged to meet, and we met in a pub in September 2020, during one of those windows during COVID, wasn't it?
That's right. Yeah. And he had told me that you were in a terrible state. So I was quite surprised to find this extraordinary, jolly, nay, bumptious, and fun individual turning up who seemed to be coping pretty well with it. And then we decided to have a second meeting because
we met monthly during that period when we were allowed to go out.
Yeah,
we met monthly.
And the second time, he calls me up and says, "Do you mind if I bring Jeremy Paxman along?" Which was a bit of a kind of, oh bloody hell, all right. Obviously, he's old friends with the great interrogator who I used to walk past in the corridor and go, I am not worthy. But you just rang him up out of the blue, didn't you?
Yeah, I never met him.
The way you do.
Yeah.
So be aware, the judge may ring you up out of the blue at any time and demand things of you.
Yeah, Jeremy said he'd meet us, but it had to be in his local, which was the Ladbroke Arms, and we've stayed there ever since, haven't we?
We have, yeah.
And we met that was in June 21 that we actually met, and he then shortly introduced Paul into the
Paul Mayhew Archer
into the group, about whom we've
got breaking news about Paul Mayhew Archer. We've known about this for ages. He's been talking about this for 3 years. He's written a film about Parkinson's called When We Dance, and it's a big drama, and it's just been launched. Where announced they're starting filming on Monday, starring Reese Vans and Laura Linney, directed by the director of Shakespeare in Love. And I rang Paul the other day, and he revealed to me that he'd got a small part in it. He'd been auditioned.
Yeah.
I said, "You lucky bastard! How on earth did you manage to wangle that?" Anyway,
so it's a jolly rom-com.
It's going to be a lovely film, and that'll be coming out next year.
And then we were shortly joined by Gillian.
Yeah.
And Gillian had the Long Service Medal, didn't she?
She did. Yeah. She'd been diagnosed in her late 40s with with Parkinson's.
And she'd also had that really scary business, hadn't she?
She'd had
DBS.
DBS, yes.
About which we knew nothing.
Yeah. And then the final piece in the jigsaw was Mark Mardell joined us.
In October.
Yeah.
But we had made the decision by then, in July, we made the decision we were going to go with the pod thing.
Yes, I don't think we need to go through all the evidence, page by page. There had been an earlier thing where the judge, who's, quite a, persuasive,
careful.
Loud.
My libel lawyer's listening, careful.
Yeah, had said, why don't we do a book? Why don't we write a book? We should write a book. And there were only 4 of us at the time. It could be called 4 Men in a Boat. Oh, he said, you what? And Jeremy said, and I'm slightly censoring this, that is the worst idea anybody has had ever. And we kind of all agreed. But the judge is nothing if not persistent and said, okay, not a book, what about a podcast?
A pod thing.
A pod thing. And I had been actually talking to somebody else about making a podcast, a serious, kind of slightly dull podcast. But the judge had his way, and somehow we stumbled on the air.
We did. We made the decision we were going to proceed, and then we made it in October, and that was the same month that we were, the final piece of the jigsaw, we were joined by Mark.
Yeah.
In October, and we made the decision, and we committed to do it, and we started working on it, and we got together and we recorded the first episode in February of 23.
Yeah, we all sat around in the pub in the most...
that was Jeremy's idea, wasn't it?
Yeah, unsuitable circumstances, because it's a very narrow space at the back of this London pub, all grouped around a table, and Gillian in particular has terrible episodes of effectively freezing and being unable to speak, unable to move, and has had on several occasions to be sort of physically carried out of there, hasn't she?
Yes, she has.
But we like it nevertheless, and you can hear the hubbub of the pub. You can hear various people fiddling with a sausage roll or a Scotch egg or a pint of bitter.
But it was innovative because it's the first time a podcast has ever been attempted with 6 presenters. It never had 6 presenters, and we were told it would not work. And in fact, in fairness, after the first couple of recordings, we just saw Nick Hilton sitting there and going...
Our producer, Nick, was brilliant. It was the first sort of pilot episode where we said, listen, we'll do this and we'll see if it works. And we sat there rambling, me trying to, in vain to, exert some sort of discipline, rambling for about 45, 50 minutes. And magically, mainly by taking 25 minutes out of it, Nick managed to turn it into something that actually quite entertaining.
He is a genius editor.
Yes.
He took the bullshit out, didn't he?
Yeah.
He really did, and it made it sound quite intelligent and professional.
Yeah.
It was a tremendous... so we...
Every time you said, and fourthly, he would cut.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, of course, Jeremy absolutely loved this format we set up, because he had the opportunity to say to a cast of thousands listening to him, "Fuck off, Judge."
Yes, which did become a bit of a... Those of us who were from the BBC slightly relished, I think, this loosening of the bounds. Yeah. Yes, those of us who had very serious...
Our first episode was about introducing ourselves, and then we moved quickly on to our stories about diagnosis, and we realised when we told this story about diagnosis how disparate the techniques of diagnosis were, weren't we?
Yeah,
and we realised that we weren't going into a world of consistency and standardisation by any means.
And we had our own horror stories, didn't we?
Yeah.
I mean, Gillian in particular, for instance, was told by her neurologist, the original one, not to tell anybody about her Parkinson's.
True, yeah. Keep it secret.
It'll upset people. To which the only answer is WTF, really. Yeah.
It was.
And we also thought, maybe we'll do 10, and that'll basically cover it, really. That'll be it. And what's been wonderful is that the ideas have kept coming, and a lot of the ideas have come from people like you. Somebody just came up to me just while we're having lunch, and I always slightly brace myself when they say, "Why don't you do an episode about ... ... And actually, this was a brilliant idea. And the idea was parenting with Parkinson's.
Yes, we haven't done that.
We have talked about our kids, but not the general concept of, particularly obviously for a young onset person, of how you manage to parent with Parkinson's. So, that'll go on the long list for us to argue
Young
about.
Onset, of course, was the third episode we ever did, was Young Onset. And that's how we met Gaynor.
Was it Gaynor? Yeah, I seem to remember Gaynor. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. And that was, of course, that was a door opener for us as well, because we were all old, weren't we?
Yeah.
And we hadn't realised that this is...
Well, you were very old.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So...
and we've done 100 episodes since then.
Is it 100?
Over 100, yeah.
Well,
and won awards twice.
Have we won awards twice?
We have. We've won awards twice.
Yes.
Yeah. We won awards twice. But remember the first one, which I recounted when we won it, because we were asked to make an acceptance speech. And so what's your main motto? And I said, well, when we were thinking about doing the podcast, Rory asked, why would anybody want to listen to a podcast about a group of ancient old relics talking about living with Parkinson's? To which Jeremy Paxton said, because they might fucking well get it.
Yes, indeed. So we trundle along. It's quite difficult to organise, because while some of us are trapped at home with a dog, other people have properties in the West Indies, the Alps, and wherever, says he jealously, and so are only available on the third Wednesday in September. But when we get together, we still, I mean, this is our kind of catchline, we have a laugh and a moan, and that is, I think, that's what we as Parkies all do most of the time. I mean, and the other really important thing is, it's connected us with this extraordinary community, and it's from you that we get our ideas, we get encouragement, we get the occasional bit of criticism, and you keep us on the right track. So thank you very much for that. Now, I think I've finished my cross-examination of you.
Yes, that was the feeblest cross-examination I've heard as a judge for a long time.
Yeah, but can I say you were reading? So
I'm not going to interrogate you.
Okay, fine.
Okay, so
no comment.
When you no comment interviews, I love those. When we met, I was a bit despondent. You described me as very ebullient, but I was a bit despondent about what lay ahead. But you seemed remarkably insouciant about the condition. Why was this?
I love his little dropping into the conversation.
La langue française.
La langue française, oui. Well, I was diagnosed in 2019, and my reaction was more, oh God, here we go again, rather than, oh my God, how horrible. And that was mainly because in late 2004, early 2005, I'd been diagnosed with a malignant melanoma behind my left eye, which was...
Sounds about as bad as it gets.
Yeah, which was frankly terrifying. Basically cancer, and had surgery then, a radioactive plaque, and had... the tumour sat there, and I'm still to this day under treatment for that. It's sitting there quite.
It's still there.
It's shriveled and hopefully behaving itself.
Yes,
but I've had
unwelcome presence behind your eye.
Yeah, and I'm blind in an eye.
Oh. So Parkinson's disease probably seemed like a walk in the park.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know that much. My very elderly father had it, so I associated it with people who were in their very much latter years. And it wasn't great, but my only symptom that I noticed at first was a dragging of my right foot.
No, but other people noticed symptoms, didn't they? Weren't you on television from Jersey?
Yeah, so what happened was I was on holiday in the summer of 2018 with my wife in Italy, and she it was who kept saying, pick your feet up, man, stop dragging your feet. She's quite a brisk woman sometimes. And still...
She's striding through the Positano like Ripley.
Yes, the other night we were in the West End, and I was reminded of, because she takes no prisoners, we were coming off the Elizabeth line at sort of theatre time, and there were sort of bodies flying to the left and right as she forged a path through, and I tried to follow her. But she noticed this. And that was still, even when I was diagnosed, not probably my most noticeable symptom to me. But in the September, before I was diagnosed, I went to do a live broadcast from the island of Jersey about the whole island having fantastic broadband. I used to do loads of stories about broadband connectivity. I was very nerdy about it. And I stood on the beach holding a cable, and somebody wrote into the BBC and said, I couldn't help noticing that Mr. Cellan-Jones' hand was shaking. He should see somebody about that. He should see a neurologist about that. So that was already a signal. And you
did see a neurologist, and you were diagnosed.
Yeah.
But then you decided to tell the world about it.
Well, yeah, I was diagnosed in the January, and I told a few people, my boss at work, and a few close colleagues, and started sort of taking an interest in the world of Parkinson's. And then in the May, I was doing another story about Britain's first 5G network being turned on. I was live from Covent Garden, broadcasting over 5G, which, again, I was very excited about, and quite tense, because as we prepared to go live, we were using the 5G network. We're using this sort of router placed on the roof of the car, surrounded by engineers from EE who were very excited about this and very nervous. And we were live over 5G, and then suddenly it cut out completely. I thought, what the hell's going on here? And I sort of cursed and whatever. And then it emerged. The people from EE started looking very embarrassed. And what they realized was that they had been testing it for a couple of days in the run-up to that day, and they'd run out of coverage. So somebody had to put 50 quid in the slot and get going again, and I could go live. But afterwards, my producer turned to me and said, have you ever thought about going public about your Parkinson's? And I said, I've thought about it, but why are you saying that now? And she said, well, your tremor was
pronounced.
Very pronounced. I mean, there is a lot of, as you can imagine, even when you've been doing it for years, there's a lot of tension around live broadcasting. Trying to remember not to say the sort of words that Judge has been spraying around over the last 10 minutes. And when I looked at it back, I was all over the shop. So we were then going off to film, and in fact we got a train to Birmingham, and I did what I always did when I wanted to say anything. I went on Twitter and I composed a tweet as we were leaving Birmingham International Station, which of course isn't open today, and put it out there saying, some people have noticed my hand shaking, I've been diagnosed recently, I'm getting good treatment, onwards and upwards, something like that, to that effect. And by the time I got off at New Street, my phone was kind of melting with responses and people calling me up. So it was extremely gratifying. It was my first sort of experience of that nice warm feeling that you get, A, from the Parkinson's community, and B, from sort of friends.
When I came out, the podcast started, and so people sort of began to hear about it, but I went to my last ever plenary meeting of the High Court judges, last ever one, and the Lord Chief Justice was there, and he said, we're going to say goodbye to Nicolas here. He's done quite well as a High Court judge. Quite well as a High Court judge, but this podcast you've done, drawing the public's awareness to living with Parkinson's, Nicolas, it's the best thing you've ever done. I said, what about those 328 judgments? But that was how I was announced to the world.
The whole of the Court of Appeal was lined up there, being very supportive, but also saying, we turned him over quite a few times, didn't we?
So you've always been...
Can I just say that the response I had, that they were all positive, apart from one who said, you've been standing too close to 5G masts.
Oh, yeah, well, yeah.
There's always one.
Now, you spend a lot of your time writing about Parkinson's and what's happening on the research front. You pose the question, don't you, are we any closer to a cure? And you've been very interested in technology. So just tell us about what your, because you're basically just sort of a geek, aren't you?
I did have this job as the BBC's technology correspondent for many years, and when I moved on from the BBC in September 2021, I thought I need a platform, and I found out that this new thing called Substack, and I started a Substack called Always On. I had a book out called Always On, so it was a bit of cross-marketing. And I've only just realised in the last year or so that it was meant to be about the smartphone era when we're always on our phones, but it's kind of a bit relevant to Parkinson's too, isn't it? Because we'd all aspire to be always on. Anyway, the Substack was about technology, but about technology in relation to healthcare. And as you all know, there's vast things happening, really interesting things happening at the moment in the field of artificial intelligence and how that affects healthcare. And I began to write about that, and it has become more and more about Parkinson's. I do the occasional thing about other topics. There's a brilliant story last week about scientists creating effectively an artificial eye, which will enable people with AMD, age-related macular degeneration, to be able to read again. But mostly I write about Parkinson's, and right now I'm massively focused on that because I've just started working on a book about the hunt for a cure for Parkinson's and whether artificial intelligence can play a part.
Do you actually use any technological aids?
I've tried all of them. I've just realised I'm not wearing my Parky shoes today. There's an extraordinary array of wearables and apps.
What, in your opinion, has been the most efficacious aid that you've researched?
I've not found anything that is an aid physically, but I have found some interesting things in relation to how you walk, your gait. A lot of them haven't worked. There was a thing called the Q1, which is a sort of buzzer thing you put on your chest.
Is that like the metronome on your chest?
Yeah. I mean, they're all using this theory that
beat.
If you set up a rhythm, it will help you. And maybe I think part of the problem is that I'm a cynical old hack, so it's quite difficult to have the placebo effect on me because I'm naturally suspicious. Because there are some things that people try that they swear by, and I've not really had much success. But I did have a go with a virtual reality system whereby you had sort of hurdles appeared in your field of vision, which you had to sort of walk over, and I found that quite effective at making me walk better.
Of our group, I mean, Gillian and Paul have both had DBS.
Yeah.
And Gillian's had a pump.
Yeah.
But do you think that the experience of our group has been that these artifacts have been unalloyed successful?
What, DBS?
Yeah.
Well, I'm just writing a chapter about DBS at the moment, actually, which has got a sort of fascinating history. I think the slightly depressing thing is that there have been two great innovations. I mean, obviously, the great innovation in Parkinson's is back in 1970 when levodopa started coming out.
Yeah.
And then the second great innovation has been the arrival of DBS, which came in during the late 90s. We've not had any innovation of any note during the 21st century, and I think that's a worry.
Apart from the pump.
But that's just another way of delivering drugs. I don't think you can call it a great leap forward.
Okay.
It's maybe quite an effective way of delivering drugs. What we haven't had, of course, which we're all looking for, is the first disease-modifying drug, by which they mean something that slows, stops, or reverses Parkinson's. And we've had big disappointments. We had the Xena trial last year, which after 16 years of testing, came to nothing. But I've just written a piece for The Independent about this. So you could be gloomy about this, but there are reasons to be optimistic. I mean, one of the reasons is is that we have in this country some of the best neurologists really working on the causes of Parkinson's. There's a woman called Sonia Gandhi at the Francis Crick Institute who's mapping the Parkinson's brain. And I think we will get there, but it may not be quite in time for us.
And on this moment, I think it's time for us to move on.
That was actually seamless, Judge. I'd been worrying that he'd...
we've got two very special guests.
We've got two very special guests. And the first of the special guests, and it's been a huge expense, by the way, and the riders, oh God, 2 bottles of Jack Daniels and some M&Ms in a dressing room. You would not believe it. Caroline Russell. Caroline, how good to have you here.
Shall I go? I have you, Rory. I have you.
So, it's been a big week, hasn't it?
It's been a very, very big week. And for those of you that don't think that Rory is referring just to Parkon, Parkinson's UK published on the 23rd of October the results of our prevalence study. And that study is, we think, possibly the largest study, certainly in the UK, but possibly the world, looking at trying to understand actually who are the people with Parkinson's. So the study that we undertook was using 18 million GP records from across the 4 nations. All of the information was anonymised, so don't worry, I'm not going to kind of reveal that it's you.
You shouldn't underestimate getting hold of GP records. It's a nightmare. It's one of my obsessions is how over-obsessed we are with privacy, which obviously is important, but GP records in particular are a nightmare to get hold of, aren't they?
Yes, I mean, there is this kind of central hub called the CRPD database, and they are trying to get all of the 67 million records. But at the moment, there's 18 million records. We also looked at hospital admissions information. So sometimes people go into hospital, they might be admitted on an emergency, and they're diagnosed with Parkinson's, and that diagnosis doesn't somehow get onto their GP record. And then as well as that, there are some people who are prescribed drugs that are only prescribed for people with Parkinson's. And again, occasionally they're not on the GP record. So we were kind of trying to triangulate all of the information.
It is extraordinary that somebody should obviously have been diagnosed with Parkinson's, getting Parkinson's medication, but not appear in the data.
Yes, I mean, there'll be few people, but that just does happen. People are often missed. If they've got many other comorbidities, adding another one to the list may be just something that the GP doesn't do.
Were you surprised by the numbers?
Well, I haven't revealed them yet, Nicolas.
No.
Shall I do that?
No, don't reveal them. But were you surprised by the numbers or not?
Was I surprised by the numbers? No.
Okay.
I wasn't surprised because I think we all feel that Parkinson's is on the increase. So the fact that the numbers revealed that there are 166,000 people in the UK with a diagnosis of Parkinson's, which is much larger than we had previously estimated, wasn't a surprise because I think everybody I meet always says I'm meeting someone else that's been diagnosed. So it wasn't a surprise.
But the standard statistic, which has been used for a long time, is there's about 170,000 people with Parkinson's.
No.
I've never heard of that statistic. No.
Okay. We've been using a figure of 145 and then 150.
I mean, when you think everybody I know, everybody I meet says I know somebody with Parkinson's.
Yeah.
I mean, it just seems. I've just thought must be more than 160,000.
The judge, that's not a very scientific way.
I know,
but
everybody
I know has got it.
But
and in fact, it's the cool thing to have.
I was expecting it to be a much larger number.
Okay. Well,
we're
it's
sorry
not.
to disappoint you.
No.
But
I suppose the point to emphasise that these are the ones that are formally diagnosed.
So, and that is part of the challenge that we've now got, because what we did look at is 21 years worth of history, which is makes the study quite unique. And we know that up until 2019 rather, just before COVID, there was a steady increase in the number each year who were being diagnosed with Parkinson's. But the review that we have undertaken showed that in the years during COVID and directly afterwards, the numbers dropped by 26%.
And that is kind of obvious for two reasons, isn't it? There would be some people who frankly died of Parkinson's,
fatalities,
died of COVID, and therefore never ended up being diagnosed with Parkinson's. But also, people were just not going to their doctors.
Correct. And so one of the big opportunities that we've got, if it is an opportunity, is to use this data to actually say that there are people who are waiting for a diagnosis that haven't received one. So we think that there are around 21,000 people who are lost in the system and haven't had a diagnosis. So the number, Nick, may be well higher than 166,000, because statistically it should be. And we have adjusted for deaths during COVID, and we're confident that, the 21,000 figure, maybe 20,000, 22,000, but around that number should have been the number of people with Parkinson's. And we know that people are still waiting on waiting lists. So many people here will have waited more than 6 months for a diagnosis, some people, or 18 weeks for a diagnosis. Some people may have waited 6 months, a year. And those people aren't in statistics.
You had the most horrific figure for Northern Ireland.
So in Northern Ireland, the wait to get a diagnosis is 5 years. And that, when you think, everyone in the room will know that period of waiting for a diagnosis, as well as the year afterwards, are such a challenging time for individuals. But actually,
you're unmedicated in that period.
Completely unmedicated, and often without any support at all.
And that is a call to action, isn't it? The lack of neurologists.
Well, you started with the fantastic news that we've got that's the joint or Linda has got us the...
Linda's going to be coming on anyway.
I know, has the debate about the Parky Charter. But some of the information in the prevalence study absolutely will fuel that debate.
Yes.
Because, why are people now waiting on the waiting lists? It's because there aren't enough people there to diagnose them. First of all, they weren't being able to get onto the waiting list, and now the waiting list is so long, they're not being diagnosed and treated.
The figure that I was also gobsmacked by was that we had a quarter of the number of neurologists per head compared to France or Germany.
Yes, or Poland.
Yes.
Yeah.
One of the challenges that we've got is it takes 17 years to grow a neurologist. So we have to be mindful of the fact that...
We could speed that up a bit, couldn't we? God, it can't be that
It's
hard.
always about speed with you, Rory.
Well,
I'm going for quality.
As I said on the podcast this morning, there's an easy short-term solution, which is the Home Office give work permits to neurologists.
Well, that's definitely something that is worth a discussion. I agree with you.
It is. There are... In this, whatever it is, the number is 673 per X, what it is. In Poland, 4,500. So they've got more neurologists than they've got surplus neurologists. And the Home Office, they're trust me, as a judge, I have to deal with the Home Office. They're quite difficult, but I think a campaign in very, very short term of work permits for neurologists would make a significant difference. You just send a few to Northern Ireland for a start.
This is a good moment to introduce our second guest, because we're moving on to campaigning as part of the podcast. And for all of us, Linda. So...
Are you going to make a person with Parkinson's walk over that
I
line?
know. It's scary, isn't it?
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me up. And could you please sign my book, Rory, Sophie from Romania?
I'll do that at the end. That was completely, unstaged.
That's what he says.
Yeah. Great. Linda, if you've heard this morning's podcast, Linda is one of 3 campaigners from Bexhill who won our competition to get the biggest number of signatures in their parliamentary constituency for the petition. And basically, you aced it, didn't you? How many did you get?
Our group, 573.
That's worth it. So tell us your story. How did you get involved in campaigning in the first place?
I met my friend Helen through a friend who knew her husband at the gym, and I'd had a diagnosis of Parkinson's. So I said, she'd just been newly diagnosed. I said, if I can part with any information, please put us in contact. And then Helen introduced me to Viv, who founded the local group for younger onset, people with Parkinson's disease, and it went from there. And it brought to light, I think when you're first diagnosed, you accept everything on face value, you don't perhaps know all the symptoms, you don't know what care to expect, and then when you find out more as you go along, you realise perhaps care in your area isn't as it should be, because more than half our local group travelled to London for a neurologist-led package of care.
And that's from Bexhill, and it's probably takes an hour and a half to get to London?
Yes, on a good day.
Yeah.
And also, when you import these foreign neurologists, can you please make sure they've studied movement disorder? Right. that would help us. Yeah. And so the model of care wasn't that brilliant in our area, so we've decided to do something about it. So Parkinson's UK have been guiding us right along the way and suggested we engage our MP, so we contacted our MP and pulled out the ACE card and got our Parkinson's nurse on the same morning. Brilliant. So the Parkinson's nurse could confirm certain aspects of lack of care in our area. And our MP, Kieran Milan, has been excellent. He was a former GP in A&E, and then he worked in model of care. So he's more than up for helping us and helping us in Parliament. And it just went from there, really. I forgot who introduced me to your podcast, but I know last year when we came to ParkOn, I came armed with 100 badges, Vogue Parky Charter, so I was already in favour then.
You were ahead of the game. So when the petition came out, what did you and your friends decide to do?
Well, to gain as many signatures as we possibly can in any way that we can. Viv organised a seafront walk, and just a couple of days beforehand, we were at our physiotherapy group having a coffee afterwards, and we were talking about the walk and how can we get the word out there, how can we get the wider community to understand Parkinson's disease, because I think that is a big issue, that they do not understand Parkinson's disease, and that's why it's so difficult to get every vote that we got. And our friend Mark Church, he said, there must be a barcode for the petition. So he found the barcode on my phone for me, and when I got home, I emailed it to you, and that our walk was 2 days ago to go. So my husband designed a flyer that we put together, and then we did a seafront walk along the
Brilliant. I mean, the
seafront.
QR code was kind of an obvious idea, but we hadn't thought of it. And it was. I went to a meeting in Tunbridge Wells, I think, and somebody, and I think it was you or one of your colleagues had a book bag.
Oh yes, I had some bags printed.
That's
yes,
fantastic.
Yes.
And then I keep saying this is the last time I'm going to wear this T-shirt. So you inspired this. I'm going to say, like Strictly, it's too late to vote. Actually,
I wore that T-shirt and went down the queue outside Lord's, asking all the members to photograph it and fill in the thing, which they were at that stage of the day they needed some explanation to be done, but later in the afternoon they signed up, they didn't care.
It's like, oh bloody hell, it's the judge again.
Yeah.
Quick, run.
And don't forget Liz Houghton, what she did overnight when she showed the rawness of Parkinson's disease.
Yes, I think we've got something to show you. Can we run the VT? It's coming. I promise.
Hello. This is an appeal on behalf of all the 153,000 people in the UK who are living with Parkinson's. We need your help now. Not tomorrow, or when you might think of it, but now. I know what a fag it is, having to suddenly change what you're doing and switch to another page, but really, is it going to disrupt your life that much? We're not asking for money. We're simply asking for your signature. I don't even have a signature anymore. I can barely hold a pen, let alone write. We need 100,000 signatures to trigger a debate in Parliament. You have no idea how difficult that is, but it's taken months to get just over halfway. We've only got about 10 weeks to get the rest. So please, I'm begging you, spare us a couple of your minutes. I know you don't know me from Adam, but in another life I could have been your mum or your sister or your great auntie Lizzie. Surely that's worth something. We need increased funding for people with Parkinson's and to implement the Parky Charter. Please, don't leave us sitting at home waiting for help that never comes. Do you know some people don't even get given a leaflet about Parkinson's? That's a disgrace. I don't know whether to laugh or cry. Please, ask all your friends to sign. Tell them my appeal comes from the heart. I don't know what else to do. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, golly. Yeah. That was amazing. I mean, we were all, Linda and all of us and lots of local groups were trying to get signatures, but that actually did go completely viral. And the impact was extraordinary. We went from getting 606 signatures a day to we got 8,000 about a day after that.
That was a rocket boost.
And then it went right through. But
I just returned from holiday, and my friend Yvette, she forwarded to me anything I missed when I was away. So we've been travelling all night and watched that, and I was crying my eyes out. And I thought, what she did is she made Parkinson's relatable to people that don't understand about Parkinson's disease. And I think we should use our secret weapon, which is YOPD, the young people with Parkinson's disease, because I think the wider public don't realise that it could be them. They think it's an old person getting Parkinson's disease. They don't think that you can get it at any age.
So we've had this great news this morning.
Yes, fabulous news.
About we've got the debate. What do we need to do?
Well, I was thrilled that we got the debate, and in the same breath, a little bit anxious because we've got 2 weeks.
3 weeks.
Of 3 weeks. Oh, that's good. That's just giving us an extra week. But
I've just got you an extra week.
Oh, thank you very much, Rory. If you can do that a bit more often, that'd be great. So I wonder if we should change a little bit what we do. Instead of asking the MPs to come to our groups, just everybody write to their MP or email their MP, because I don't think the MPs will have time between now and the debate to actually
we should certainly
put in a visit.
Yeah,
definitely contact them and let them know what life is like living with Parkinson's disease and how that Parkinson's disease relates in your area. For instance, if you've been refused a blue badge and yet you rely on your time-critical meds for your agility and your mobility, which makes it difficult to get in and out of a car, issues like that. Or if you're on a long waiting list for your neurologist, you can Google that in your area, easily find out how long you have to wait. At Bexhill, it was 46 weeks from GP to neurologist, and it's now 45.4, I believe.
It is shocking.
I mean, there is a sort of deeper question. Why has historically, I think things are changing somewhat now, why has historically Parkinson's been the sort of acme of the Cinderella condition? I mean, why has it been? Is it because nobody
theory,
dies of it? Is it because it's too complicated to understand, because it has too many symptoms?
Having been on the other side, Nick, and being the chief executive in the NHS, no one gets sacked for neurology services unless there is a serious incident and some neurosurgery goes wrong. And that's the cold light of day. The NHS works by government statistics and government targets. There's a target for cancer, there's a target for A&E waits, and there are no targets at all for neurology. So, you know, I often talk at work about head and heart. I'm talking now with my head, not my heart. And I absolutely think one of the things that we need to push for is having very, very, very clear targets around what's expected for neurology.
Yes.
And the first decent thing is that someone gets a diagnosis at the right time. That is something that should be everybody's right. And at the moment, we're lost in a 18-week referral number. Neurology will be pushed to the end because it's complex. It's difficult. There aren't enough neurologists.
We're absolutely primitive compared to France. They were, 25, aren't they? 25 neurology centres of excellence across the nation to deal specifically with neurological problems in the respective areas.
I believe that's only just been launched in September. Yes, and they've banded all their neurodegenerative diseases together, and it comes under one umbrella of care. Yeah. So they've reviewed. So I've got a few statistics here, because for people that think that we're asking for something that we shouldn't be asking for our government, we're only asking for what other countries have asked for. Parkinson's Europe, they had their review in 2024. Germany reviewed all their statistics of Parkinson's disease in 2023. Denmark, it came under their general health care, but it impacts Parkinson's disease. So they reviewed theirs in 2024. France, again, as I've said, neurodegenerative. Netherlands, they expand their Parkinson's net this year, 2025. And Spain, they've gone way out. They've banded all their neurodegenerative as well as psychiatric care, which is 43% of their population. And they've brought out a national brain plan with multi-arms to treat it. So it makes us consider that everybody is having to consider this increase in numbers of neurodegenerative diseases.
We know 1 in 6 people in the UK have a neurological condition. I mean, that puts it really into context. Yes. So, it is a whole area of the NHS that is so underinvested in. And yet, actually, just small things would make a huge change to everyone.
Now, we're getting towards the end, and I know that there are going to be people in the audience who've got questions for us. So let's, if you can put your hands up, we've got a roving one. We've got, first.
From Ipswich branch. I was at an Excellence Network last week, and I think there's a fantastic idea and a quick win that we can take away from that. The Bedfordshire care homes project, by training the people that work in the care homes to have a champion for Parkinson's, to help those currently living with it before we get all these promised neurologists and so on. I think that's a relative quick win in the scale of things to organise those locally, and that'll have a huge impact on those at that stage of the
do you want me to say? So I was at the same event that Andy was at. Andy was just talking about a project that's happening in Bedfordshire, where a Bedfordshire support group has worked with the local NHS to build a whole education offer for care home providers, because there's a significant proportion of people who have Parkinson's who live in care homes, and their voice is unheard. And often they are people who are admitted to hospital at very short notice and actually take up a number of the resources.
It's another area where I had a letter saying we should do a podcast about frankly unsatisfactory care for Parkinson's in care homes.
So indeed, I mean, a lot of care homes take people with Parkinson's, but they have no real knowledge of what Parkinson's is. So the local group have worked together with the NHS, and basically they ran an educational offer for all of the care homes in Bedford to come and hear both the healthcare professionals, but more importantly, the people with Parkinson's who weren't of an age to go into a care home, but could actually explain what the condition was and actually how you should react and how you should treat someone with kind of dignity and respect. And that was really well welcomed. And so that's some of the things that actually are happening outside of all things like the Parky Charter, but the community are joining together and kind of making education and owning it themselves.
Could that be built into government policy and legislation so that all areas get that?
Well, so I sense Rory's anxiety, but very quickly, I personally think that CQC registration for all care homes should mean that if someone says that they can take Parkinson's
Yes, you're right.
patients,
Yeah.
they should understand what the condition is,
Is
and
there
it
not
doesn't.
something else we should be announcing, which we have been given an audience?
Oh, we've
With
got a
me?
meeting.
With you?
at the,
Oh, thank you,
No, with
Nick.
the minister.
With the minister, that's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, we are seeing the
Right.
minister this week.
Seeing the minister.
There was. I was looking at the grey hand. That hand that's waving there. I'm sorry, I can't.
The female hand.
It's Katie.
Yeah,
Katie,
yeah,
yeah.
Hi. My question for kind of all of you, really, I think, is do the figures that Caroline talked about give us more insight into the proportions of young onset? And do we think, because we all think that that proportion is growing, right? There's more instances of it, but there's more instances of Parkinson's younger. And do we think that that is a really important part of getting this voice heard and this transformation of care heard? It really struck me that it was the first time this year, my fiancé has been diagnosed 5 years, and it was only this year that I heard a statistic for the first time about what proportion of people diagnosed are diagnosed young onset.
It was 6%, wasn't it?
So it's 1 in 16 people who, when they're diagnosed, are under the age of 50.
Yeah.
And at the point that we did the prevalence study, there were a third of people who were of working age, so under 67. So that is quite a huge cohort. I would equally say that the cohort towards the other end that we've just talked about with care homes is as large.
Yes.
So it is a multi-age condition. And I think that's a myth. And I agree with Linda. Having different voices and different people who have Parkinson's is really important, because you two guys, you're prime Parky people. Linda isn't. And I think that the more that
I'm older than I look.
we show the diversity.
You mean we're stereotypical Parky?
You are. I mean, you in particular, Nick.
Your Honour.
I think I
There
take that.
are loads
It's
of
a
old
compliment.
judges.
I
It's
think
a
I will
compliment.
take that as a compliment.
It's a compliment
Yes,
because-
if Rory had said it, it wouldn't have been. But
Yeah.
But I think that's one of the reasons why it was so hard to get signatures and you had to work, because you had to explain Parkinson's
Because
disease.
all the old men were at Lord's with Nick.
Yes.
Or in the Ladbroke Arms.
You talked about getting more neurologists, and I know there's a campaign to get more Parkinson's nurses as well. It took 7 years for me first seeing a neurologist to be diagnosed. So how will we make sure that we get quality neurologists rather than just bums on seats?
Yeah.
My understanding is to be. I mean, one can define quality in all sorts of ways. I think certainly in terms of scientific background, we get very high quality neurologists in this country. Less convinced that all of those very clever people and necessarily got a great bedside manner.
Yeah.
One hears quite frightening anecdotes coming out from the leading hospitals of, people showing very little comprehension of the wider sort of issues about nutrition and exercise and so on. But I think we basically just need a lot more neurologists.
we do. I mean,
Neurologists is worse than no neurologist at all.
Yeah. I mean, not all neurologists, Linda mentioned this, are specialists in movement disorders.
Yeah.
And
No, we
you
have
know,
7
they'll be seeing
neurologists
headaches
locally.
and-
And there's one apparently that studied movements disorders.
Right.
And I went and diagnosed for 2 years with him.
Yeah.
And I was diagnosed in London. So, and we're in a high demographic area for elderly population because they come to our area to retire. So there must be an awful lot of misdiagnosis or diagnosed cases. But then because the existing neurologists perhaps don't understand the complexities of Parkinson's disease, they are probably unaware of this whole cohort being missed.
Yeah. Okay, let's have another question. There's one coming there.
It's not a question, it's just to say to everybody, I invited my MP, whose mother has got Parkinson's, to the sing-along that we were all at.
The Big Sing.
The Big Sing. He had not heard about it. But he said to me, every email I get from one person, I consider it is 10 of my constituents who have got the similar drive. So, let's quickly look around. If each one of us just sent a simple email to our MP saying, turn up at the debate.
Or else.
Yeah, or else. Just think of what effect that will have. So
Yes,
it doesn't
absolutely.
have to be a big, complicated email.
No.
Just small, to the point.
That's a very good point. Yeah, excellent, excellent.
If I might boast, I have already sent the email.
Well done.
Yeah.
Yes, we've got...
Jane.
Sorry. Just to add a little PS to that, all the MPs are on social media. They're desperate for the publicity. You know, picture of your MP. Look forward to seeing you at the debate.
Yes.
Oh.
And it mustn't be forgotten that you must invite them to the debate, because apparently usually only 5% of MPs turn up for debates, and we don't want that for this Parkinson's campaign that we've struggled so long for to get all these signatures. So everybody, please write your emails, your letters to your MPs and say, please attend the debate, and this is what Parkinson's disease is.
Very good.
Over and out.
Now, where... we've got somebody at the back there.
Rochelle Flanagan here, dietitian with Parkinson's. I'm just wondering, the ratio of neurologists to people in Ireland is one of the worst in Europe, as it is in...
It's
No,
even
no, the worst.
It's even worse.
It is
It's
worse.
worse.
48,
Worse, yes.
48
Yes.
out of 48.
I'm just wondering, like, do we need to be looking at this from a different perspective? So in terms of dietitians, you know, access to dietitians with experience in Parkinson's, I'm probably one of the only ones because they're not trained in Parkinson's. So, you know, does the model of care need to be looked at differently? I don't think you're going to get enough neurologists to deal with the, you know, especially from the report that came out recently. So should we be, you know, looking at the digital health approach? You know, so I know in Ireland it's the same as GPs are not knowledgeable. A lot of care could be done in the community, but also looking at other forms of trying to get access to care, because there's a lot of, you know, people are suffering and they're not getting access to sort of basic, you know, advice. So I'm just wondering, are we putting a lot of energy into getting more of something that we're not going to stem the tide?
There is another demand in the Parky Charter for this sort of holistic care approach for neurologists or hospital specialists to be more open-minded and to be able to give people information about physiotherapists, about nutrition, and so on and so forth. And I think we're all increasingly aware that Parkinson's nurses can play a great, especially when there is this shortage of neurologists, can play a part.
Can I just very, very quickly, so the clock's ticking down, there are parts of England that don't necessarily adhere to the NICE guidance, where the specialist nurse is diagnosing, and in one particular part of England, the wait to get a diagnosis there is 4 weeks, and if you go via the neurologist, who is not a movement specialist disorder, it's 7 months. So I think this does call for some review. We don't want to kind of denude any clinician's expertise, but actually there's a crisis.
And also, can I say that Parkinson's UK has got some wonderful education for healthcare providers and the medical profession, but it's not mandatory. It's optional whether you look at it and whether you learn from it. So it's already got these facilities available, but everything is a choice, not mandatory.
Yeah.
Well, we've run out of time.
We have.
But Caroline.
Yes, so it falls on me to kind of do a vote of thanks at the end of 2 magnificent days. So first of all, for those of you that have stayed the distance, thank you. I hope you've enjoyed ParkOn. We learn every time we do these events. We are indebted to the group of individuals who put themselves forward to really create the material for today and say what they wanted on the conference agenda. So thank you to all of those. Thank you to our sponsors. I'm not going to name them, but without them, we couldn't have really put on the event today. Thank you to all of our volunteers that have helped shepherd people around. Thank you especially to Claire Bow and our team from the research group, because they've done a huge... And of course, we've been incredibly lucky having an amazing group of speakers. We started with, as well as singers, so I do want to just pay tribute to the Welsh choir, who were amazing yesterday morning. But to the clinical researchers, to the podcasters, we have had another podcast with us. They were good as well. But thank you all.
We're completely polygamous.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say to that, Nick, in every way. So I just want to wish you all a safe journey. There is one thing, though, I'd like you to ask. Just stay and smile at the Hit the Screen, the song that we all know. But safe journey home, and hopefully see you here next year. Thank you both.
This is a Parky political broadcast on behalf of the movers and shakers.
At first, when diagnosed, we were petrified. My arm just wouldn't swing, it hung limp by my side.
I went to see a doctor.
He said, it's very clear.
What you have is Parkinson's. I'll see you in a year.
So now we're here to up the pace.
Though it's hard to look determined with that no expression face.
This disease has 40 symptoms.
From pain to getting stuck.
To which the only sane response is to yell, oh
dear.
I tend to have a daily fall.
And I have lost my voice, which used to boom right down the hall.
My brain has turned to mush.
I can't get on a bus or train.
Why can't I cross a threshold?
God, that's so hard to explain.
So many get so little care.
Some cannot see a specialist.
In what world is that fair? But if there was awareness,
it would stop us being dissed.
We may have a tremor, but it doesn't mean we're
drunk.
Hey ho!
We need to focus hard, not to fall apart. To be able to put socks on.
That would be a start.
If people understood,
they could help us make a case.
I, for one, have had it since the tender age of 8.
We are fed up.
To our back teeth.
We must bring an end to Parkinson's disease.
Some think it's just an illness for cantankerous old men.
But each of us has got it, so you better think again.
We need a cure. We need it soon.
Okay, not tomorrow morning.
But tomorrow afternoon.
Parkinson's is just no fun, and no one knows we're here.
But we're prepared to make a noise.
We will not disappear.
We need a cure and better care. We're calling for a charter and it's all in there. If you sign our petition, it will help us all revive. We will survive. We will survive. We will survive.